How's it going? So, I was watching this Burning Man documentary on HBO, and it got me thinking about who we really are and the dichotomy that we face between our morals and our values as we get older versus who we really are and what we have to give up in exchange for existence. There's something to be said about the hippie culture and the individual culture and the culture of who we are as people and what we believe. Now, I do think that sometimes as we get older, our beliefs do change. Our lifestyles change. The demands around us change. Everything changes. But what do we have to sacrifice in exchange for stability? I think that's the question that a lot of us old hippies are trying to grapple with, especially as the younger, more monetarily stable people come into the world, our world, so to speak, that we've kind of created for ourselves. And maybe we have to share it with them. Maybe we have to coexist. When things like Burning Man get bigger than their skin, there has to be a trade off, right? Like the money brings the security, it brings the infrastructure, it brings the stability, it brings the ability to expand. But yet, that money also demands something of each of us. It takes away from the real communal feel because no matter how much a guy like Kimball Musk says this, that his money comes without strings or it comes without conditions, it does have conditions. And that's the real terrifying aspect of this whole thing. And it's not that they're bad, not inherently bad. You know, very few people give you things for nothing, expecting nothing in return. Uh, but yet, I think we have to limit the damage that those strings come with. Don't you? Don't you agree with that? So, what do we have to thank for the greed? What do we have to thank for the conditions that we have to live by? Who do we have to thank for allowing us to exist? The $5 million permits and stuff to host a get together. We could thank the government. We could thank ourselves. We could thank all sorts of things. Uh, but the reality of it is maybe we're just struggling to grow, and maybe we're struggling to come to grips with who we really are in this modern new world. Now, I do think that things like Burning Man have a place. And I think that things like, our belief system have a place. And sometimes people try to monopolize that, and that's fine. They try to, commodify it. And that's a word that we all grew up hating, especially those of us who came from places like Texas, where every inch of land is commodified. Every good idea is, just another brick on the road to hell paved with good intentions, uh, or bad intentions, depending on who's running it. I know this sounds kind of weird, but it's the dichotomy of a hippie coming of age. When I first got out to California back in the early 2000s, I found a group of people who were kind, who were loving, who were accepting, who were tolerant. Uh, Much different than the people I grew up around in Texas. But then I realized when I got back to Texas, there was this group of people that were trying to be what people in California were trying to be, but they wanted it with commodification. They wanted it with a benefit to themselves. They couldn't just be a bread maker and share the bread for the goodness of sharing the bread. You had to get something out of it because, well, you had to buy the flour and you had to buy the yeast and you had to do all this other stuff. And so all of that is valid. But it's what do you do with the gifts that you're given? And what do you do with the talents that you're given? And how do you buy more flour if you ain't got no more money? It's a very difficult conversation to have. So I think a lot of us hippies have gotten older. Maybe we've gotten wiser. Maybe we still see the problems. And maybe there's no more room for a guy like me in that community. But as older hippies, we evolved. A lot of us got jobs and careers and, different things. That's great. A lot of us made good money. A lot of us still give that money back and live off of the scraps. Uh, you know, and that's okay. But then there's people out there who hoard the money and who invest the money and who make more money and, the Dave Ramsey people of the world. And that's okay too. The point is, despite the differences, maybe it's all okay. And we just all have to come together with a way to coexist. And I'm not saying that we have to agree with the Trumpers. I'm not saying that we have to agree with the far left either. But what I am saying is that we have to at least coexist. And maybe that's the real problem with this is we've lost the ability to coexist. Like me and old Axel the dog here, we got to coexist. Ain't that right, big boy? Yeah, we got to coexist. Arr, arr, arr. And you see, coexisting is a beautiful thing when we get it right. I think people like Willie Nelson, who comes from, hey boy, come from my world, got that right. And they saw that. And somehow it all got mixed up. Somehow it all got changed. And that's okay. But maybe the real focus is going back to the basics, just figuring out how to coexist. Despite all the differences, despite all the challenges, maybe coexisting. That should be the new buzzword. So, actually going to knock over the tripod here. He's ready to go in the house. It's over 100 degrees outside. He's tired of being out here. So, coexisting means I got to take him back inside where it's cool. Because he depends on that. Don't you? Don't you depend on that? He depends on that. Come here, look. See, look, he depends on that. But yeah, so maybe the real challenge is just figuring out how we all make it come together for the benefit of everyone, or as many as we can. Maybe that's the real challenge. All right. Go get him some water. Peace.